beyond everything we know, beyond everything we believe, an infinity of alternate worlds spin invisibly alongside our own. Time may run backwards, or the impossible becomes the probable. At every turn, wonder or terror await those who unwittingly cross over. Welcome, travelers, to the Uncharted Regions.
Shall we play a game?
Why, yes. I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Live from Little Rock, it's Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey into the things we love. Right before my normal show opened, you heard a little intro. That's how Uncharted Regions starts. It's a new radio drama from my friend and yours and the one and only Neal Hallford, who's going to be our guest on the show today. We'll talk more about Uncharted Regions here in a moment. This is Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey into the things we love. If you're listening at 1 p.m. Central on August 25th by either 101.1 FM The Answer in the Little Rock /Central Arkansas metro area, or online via the stream at 1011fmtheanswer.com. So glad to have you. And if you're listening by podcast after the fact, or Krypton Radio, or on YouTube, or many of the other ways that it goes out after the live show, I'm just tickled pink, I tell you. Tickled pink to have you either way. Now, there is an advantage if you listen live, if you're able to do so. Then sometimes there'll be news items that I share that are time sensitive. And also you can call in or participate in the show if you want at 501-823-0965. That's 501-823-0965. Or you can tweet me at Shane Plays. That's ShanePlays. Okay, with no further ado, gonna introduce my returning guest, friend of the show. I think this is Neal. What is this, third or fourth time you've graced Shane Plays with your unique and entertaining presence?
I think this might actually be number 4.
Number 4.
But I'm not sure.
I'm gonna have to do like Saturday Night Live had that 6 Club. You know what I'm talking about? When you had do
I get a jacket?
Yeah, you get a jacket, and if you've hosted or guest hosted Saturday Night Live 6 times, then you join the club. I know, who was it? Steve Martin. I can't remember who all was in the club, but that was a great skit they did.
Alex Baldwin. Yeah, but I can't remember yet.
Yeah, it was a great skit. So yeah, Zach's looking at me kind of funny. They did a skit on Saturday Night Live that there was some guest host. I can't remember who it was, and it was their 6th time, I think. And then they had this skit where they got inducted into the 6 Club or something like that, and suddenly all these other celebrities who had done it 6 times or more were welcoming the person. It was, I don't even remember if it was a man or a woman, to be honest, and it was like an exclusive club with a jacket and all that. So yes. Speaking of Steve Martin, I just saw the other day, I had to do a double take on it. I would love to go to this. I think it's late November or early December. Steve Martin and Martin Short are doing a show here in North Little Rock. And
that's awesome.
I would love to go see that. I'm assuming it's a comedy show, but I know that Steve Martin does he does more banjo than anything else these days. So I'd be curious to see what that show is. But yeah, I did a double take on that. So, all right. Well, so Neal, again, welcome back. For the folks who may or may not know who Neal is, and if you're in the geek world, that would surprise me, but stranger things have happened. And no, Neal is not going to be in Stranger Things season 3. That's not some kind of hint. And he's not directing it.
But if they want me to be there, I am. You
will be there, but you do. You have
one fan.
You have done the award-winning "The Case of Evil" short film that was an homage to Universal horror movies, and then of course you're doing Uncharted Regions now, which we'll be talking about later in the show. I want to keep teasing them with that, but it's kind of like Twilight Zone on the radio. Footnote for the non-live version of the show: Neal actually refers to Uncharted Regions as a audio drama, not a radio drama, and he will explain why later in the show when we dig in. So I just wanted to point that out because I refer to it as a radio drama several times before he has a chance to clarify that. And now,
on with the show.
Kind of. And I don't want to limit it to just that, and we'll have Neal tell us more. But I did want to ask you, Neal, because you're of course well known for being the creative force behind Betrayal at Krondor, which is one of the most beloved CRPGs of all time, computer role playing games based on the Krondor IP from, is it Feist? Raymond D. Feist? Is that
Raymond
how you
D.
say?
Feist.
Raymond D. Feist. Then, of course, you've done other things, including other game design. You're a filmmaker, and now you are doing. You wrote a book on swords and what was it? Swords and circuitry.
Designer's Guide to your role playing game.
Yeah. So you did that with your lovely wife, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and then is it Jana?
Jaina.
Hello, Jana.
Just think it's like the name Dana except with a J.
Jana Hallford, who also helps you. You two together are sort of a double threat team on a lot of this stuff that you do. Yes. And you're also from the great state of Oklahoma, the Tulsa/Broken Arrow area. So did you hear that either they already have or they're turning the Outsiders house into a museum?
I think I might have heard something along those lines.
Yeah, my buddy who lives in Broken Arrow took his 12-year-old daughter over there to take pictures, and he said that not only are they turning it into a museum, but they have some kind of event coming up where it's going to be like Ralph Macchio, or Macchio, however you say his name, and a couple of the other big names from the Outsiders are going to be there. So that's pretty cool.
That would be really cool. Of course, I was, I actually had a couple of friends because it was shot while I was in high school.
Oh, that would be so cool. Yeah.
And so I actually had some friends that were extras in The Outsiders.
Now, were they socks or were they greasers or were they neither?
I am ashamed to say that I'm not sure. And
okay.
That was a whole lot of years ago.
Well, I think in my life I've sort of turned into, outwardly I'm more of a sock, but inwardly I'm still a greaser. I think. Mm-hmm. I think that's where I'm coming from. So, all right. How about you? Do you lean sock or greaser, or is it too politically charged these days to ask you that question?
I'm a nerd, so
yeah, you're neither. They leave you alone. Yeah, both sides. I literally remember before I ever even saw the movie or read the book, in like 5th or 6th grade, other kids had seen the Outsiders movie. Now, I recommend reading the book. The book's fantastic, but the movie's a great 80s piece of pop culture.
Oh yeah.
Milestone. I remember us splitting into groups on the playground as socks and greasers. And I didn't even know what all that was about at that point. Now, a couple of years later, once I read the book and saw the movie, I understood. But even then, I naturally wanted to be a greaser. So, dang, it feels good to be a greaser. Okay, that's enough. I didn't mean to go off into the Outsiders. S.E. Hinton, of course, was actually a pseudonym because it was a young woman who wrote that book. And she suspected that if she identified herself as a woman, they wouldn't have published it because it was talking about young men. But anyway, all right, moving right along. Neal, I do want to ask you briefly, just in case anybody from the Codex is listening, and there's people that they're all, even though we're not here to talk about your game design, there's always people out there that are eager for any possible updates on any computer game design work you may be doing. Do you have any updates on game dev? Are you still playing around with that personal betrayer Krondor project you were working on? Anything like that?
Well, all I can say is that I am in the background and stuff. It's kind of a temporary thing right now, but there is a certain name of someone who I've worked with before, who is working on a project, and he's basically kind of doing a part-time. Or he's got a project he's been kind of working from out of his garage, and at some point that's going to turn into something really formal. And so I'm informally kind of doing things with him.
Okay,
it's definitely kind of a part-time, and we're going to see where this goes, sort of thing.
Okay.
But I'm working on that. As far as the
now, can I ask? And if you can't give details like this, I understand. But is it within the CRPG realm? Is it can you even talk? Okay.
It is, yeah. It's not. I can say that it is not an RPG in the conventional sense of the word.
Okay.
It is not a. I can definitely say it is not a Dungeons and Dragons, swords and that sort of thing.
So there's no stabby.
There's no stabby, but there is a boomy,
Okay.
and I might even venture to say spaceships are involved.
You might, perhaps, were you to speak of this project, you might, hypothetically. Okay. And again, I'm not pressing you for details that you don't want to give, but do you have any idea of when you might be able to share more on that?
That I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
This is one of those things where new tech is basically being built for this project.
Yep.
And so that takes time, and so they're wanting to kind of get the platform up and running and everything else before we even really start kind of seriously start digging into what we're going to do with it narratively or what have you. But I am the narrative lead on the project. So
nice.
Anyway, it will be fun to work on. And like I can say, this is someone that I have worked for before. So you can read into that whatever you like.
Well, I'm sure that there are video game fans out there, especially people like the Codex. I mean, there will be frantic speculation, much of which will be wrong. Yeah, much of which will be wrong, but highly entertaining nonetheless. Looks like, Zach, do we have a caller? Tim, okay. Hey, Neal, I'm gonna pause this for a minute or two here. I've got a good friend of the show, Timothy Lim, who is a comic books artist and has a lot of cool projects going on right now. And I think he's launching a new Indiegogo. It's either already launched or about to launch. And I asked him if he just wanted to call in and give us a tease or some details on that. So, comics artist extraordinaire and bunny lover, Timothy Lim, how the heck are you? It feels like it was only yesterday that I've seen you, pal.
Yeah, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, literally figuratively. Well. So tell us about this. You mentioned yesterday that you're like right on the cusp of a new comic book project. What you got going on, pal?
Yeah, so actually, officially today, I'm starting on Cash Grab, which is going to be a comic written by Nurkish and Cecil, the two internet personalities. I think Nurkish has a more established YouTube channel.
Okay.
So if anyone's interested in looking at some good roast videos and comic book critiques, they can go visit Nurkish on YouTube.
Okay. I've heard the name bandied about, but I'll have to go check him out. So, and who else? And Cecil?
Yeah, and Cecil's the co-writer. I'm here with Mark Pellegrini too, so if you want to ask him stuff, he's here as well.
Is he on the project?
No, he is not on the project.
All right. Well, so yeah, I may say hi to Mark here real quick. Let me ask you when. So today, Cash Grab will launch on Indiegogo. I assume it'll be.
I'm working on it right now.
Oh, you're working on it
until October.
Oh, okay. So Cash. Okay, so what was it? So you're just starting to work on it today,
right?
Okay, that's okay. Well, cool. Well, if you want to have those guys on when the Indiegogo launches, then we'll definitely do that. But it's sort of an inside industry kind of a joke project, talking about a couple of comic books creators just taking the money and running, or like what? Can you give me any details on it?
So the general plot is actually it's not really that. It's actually a murder mystery is how they're framing it.
Okay.
And they're using it as a vehicle for telling jokes about kind of the things that they've learned within the last year about the comic book industry. And some people on our side, no one is safe. We'll just put it that way.
Okay.
It's not meant to be a scathing criticism or anything like that. It's actually very lighthearted.
So it's poking fun and introducing some much-needed levity into the current discussion.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So, well, very cool. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that further. I also wanted to give people an update as long as you're on the phone. Trump's Space Force, which was about to wind down, you got 3 major media coverage items here lately, and that's with Chuck Dixon, veteran comic book writer Chuck Dixon. Of course, Timothy Lim is the artist who's on the phone right now. Brett R. Smith is doing the coloring. Dave Dorman's doing covers, and then Mark Pellegrini gets a credit for doing some extra scripting. That was about to wind down, but you've extended it for 8 days because you got those 3 major media coverages, and you went from a little over 30,000 to over 60,000 very quickly. Is that
right? And
okay?
We've extended it till next Sunday, and we actually got our 4th hit this morning. Amanda Head with Rebel Media, which is with that's Gavin McInnes's gang over there, but she gave us another one this morning, so we'll see how that does.
And I will talk to Mark Pellegrini in a second, but in honor of, I got to have the Edwin Boyette Space Force one, the one where it's like Barry White making love to robots. Zach, let that rip.
It's another lonely night.
Oh yeah,
and you need it bad. We've got all the mecha you need. Bipedal,
Neal, you never heard nothing like this, baby.
Lunar functionality for your pleasure. And if you're a real nasty woman, you might even get to see the vertical takeoff and landing capabilities.
That right there is gold.
Yeah.
That's gold.
Space Force, making space great again.
Right there. Yeah. All right. Well, congratulations on both news items, Tim. I'm looking forward to seeing where that ends up at. Yeah, let me, thanks so much for calling in. Let me holler at Pele Creepy, Mr. Mark Pellegrini himself.
Hey, what's going on?
What's up, Mark? Hey, this is going to be a news item today, so I'm going to go ahead. I was going to do it later in the show, but I'll go ahead and do it now. Zach, play the Red Rooster promo sound that we got. My fellow comics lovers, ask not what your rooster can do for you. Ask what you can do for your rooster. Yeah, right there.
Look at me when I'm talking, son.
Okay, so congratulations, Mark. Red Rooster, The Golden Age, the project that you've been involved with, along with Mitch Breitweiser and Elizabeth Breitweiser, the Indiegogo just finished. You raised over $164,000, which was 1,090% of your original $15,000 goal. So I just want to say congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, we're real surprised. I mean, at the huge response it's gotten. You know, people are really excited about it. So we got to deliver now.
Yeah. Well, what I've seen, I think you will. Unfortunately, I've got a pretty packed show today, but I did want to say hi to you and Tim, and thanks for. Are there any other projects that you want to mention right now?
Just that we got Black Ops 2 that's going to be coming out next year, and then I'm going to be working with Mitch again and Butch Geist on the Futurists next year as well.
Wait a minute, let me be clear. This is not Black Ops issue number 2. This is Black Ops 2.
This is volume 2.
I didn't even know that was happening. There's a scoop. Very cool. I'm on board. And the comic shop ran out or didn't get out. So I'm still waiting to get my eager little hands on issue number 2. We were talking about that yesterday with Tim. But I'm looking forward to it. That's a good problem for you guys that it's that in demand. So,
well, if any shops under ordered it, you can always get it direct from the publisher, Antarctic Press, on their website.
That is good to know.
It's available online. Yep.
Okay. All right, man, Mark. And hold on. I got to play this for you. Do you hear that?
Yeah.
That is my miniature proton pack that I got at Barnes & Noble, but Tim hates it because it's the Holtzman version. So.
Yeah, that's illegitimate. You know better.
Okay, man. We'll catch you guys later. Thanks for calling in.
Thanks.
All right, folks. That was Timothy Lim and Mark Pellegrini. Timothy does a lot of comics art. Mark Pellegrini's got several writing projects under his belt, and they're both up-and-coming creators in the comics industry. Neal, have you ever heard comic book audio trailers like that before?
No, I have to say those were new for me.
There's a really fun thing going on in social media right now where all these people are crowdfunding comic books, and all these fans and stuff are just to help or doing like audio trailers and just nutty stuff. So anyway, back to you, Neal. I had asked Tim to call in for a couple of minutes. I didn't know Mark was going to be there. I'm glad to talk to them both, but I want to make sure to give you plenty of time too. So there may be a boomy spaceship computer game that is not technically a computer RPG coming at some point in the future, and you will share more when you can. If I believe that's where we left things. Okay.
Because they're holding guns on puppies, and so I have to be careful.
I understand. Yeah, I totally understand. And every time they do that to a puppy, the kitten gets its wings, right? Is that right? Am I messing up things, how things go? Okay, I'm going to do a few quick show notes here. We'll get to a break. When we come back, we'll do some Weird Geek news. I want to play real quick. Play it now, Zach. I want to tease people so that they'll know that this cool stuff is coming. Play part 1 of the Uncharted Regions trailer real quick.
Next time on Uncharted Regions.
There's something going on up there. I don't know if it's dangerous. I don't even know if it's real. But if it's trouble and it comes down for you, I may not be able to get down to you in time.
I'll consider myself warned then. I'm tougher than you think I am. I don't need protection.
You don't know what's out there.
Evidently, neither do you.
Wow. So that is the radio drama that Neal's been working on and producing for a while now. Now, I'm not going to reveal who it is, but we'll reveal after the break or when we talk about Uncharted Regions. The woman's voice there is a very well-known actress within the I would call like the sci-fi fandom. So, and there's another big name. There's a Star Trek actor that Neal and company have lined up for an upcoming episode of Uncharted Regions. So stick around for that as well. All right, let me do some show notes. We'll get to a break. When we come back, we'll do some Weird Geek news, and we'll talk about Uncharted Regions, Neal's exciting radio drama, which I'm genuinely intrigued about. I love that kind of thing. I love radio dramas, and I love that kind of Twilight Zone-ish kind of thing. So we'll learn more later in the show. The show notes and links are up at shameplays.com. So if you're listening by podcast or on Krypton Radio, the show notes and links from today's show will be up, and you can always find previous shows there. Last week's show, which was Godzilla, was a replay of the week before. There was a family wedding last weekend that my responsibilities sort of grew short notice. So that's why there was a replay last weekend of the Godzilla show with Tony Isabella and Mark Pellegrini, who you heard just a few minutes previously talking about comic books. And that is just a fun show. Neal, I assume you're a Godzilla fan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun show. If you get a chance, listen. Tony Isabella, who's also a comics writer, he has the First Church of Godzilla on Facebook. So that was fun. And I also want to say congrats to Corey and Christina Cagle on their nuptials. So they are, it's a nephew and his lovely bride on my wife's side. Speaking of my wife, this is my lovely wife Sheila's birthday weekend. So happy birthday, baby. Birthday. Yeah, look, you just turned 29. You're looking great. So love you so much. Also, the show does go out as a podcast. It's first and foremost a live radio show, but we do go out on the podcast on the blog at shameplays.com, iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, Podbean, SoundCloud, YouTube, and more. And last but never ever least, Shame Plays is carried on Krypton Radio. Krypton Radio is sci-fi for your Wi-Fi. KryptonRadio.com. Gene Turnbow and company do a great job over there. I want to mention that Shame Play sponsor Trollord Games of Castles and Crusades and Victorious and other games. They're doing a Bundle Mania where you can get, if you go over to, I think, Drive-Thru RPG or RPG Now, you basically you can get in one big bundle PDF versions of all of their books for 40% off. So it's just one big, huge bundle. And that's I got that email yesterday and it says 72 hours. So I'm going to imagine that it's going to go through Sunday or Monday. This is what I was talking about. If you listen live, sometimes you'll get those time sensitive updates. And then finally, just for general news items, the RPG Codex I mentioned earlier, there is a fundraiser I want to let people know about. There's a user over there named Blackthorn. His first name is Steve. He goes by Blackthorn, and he's an indie dev. And evidently, he needs a new kidney. And he's the creator designer at Infamous Quests. He was the writer, director, and producer on Quest for Infamy and Order of the Thorn, excuse me. And I'll put that link up on the show notes, but you can also just, go to RPG Codex and look for a fundraiser for Blackthorn. That's BLACKTHORNE. All right, Zach, we're going to banter real quick. We got to make this one short.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Which is already going to get me in even more trouble. So I got in my car last Tuesday morning. Now, people don't know, the head of my news team and his grandmother, he's fine, but his grandmother and her dog Muffin, Neal, I don't know if this was going on last time you were on the show. If I don't banter with Zach, they get upset with me.
Oh, I see.
All right, so last week I had a rebroadcast of a show that did include banter with Zach, but it was not new banter with Zach.
Right.
So I got in my car on, I think it was like Tuesday or Wednesday morning, and there was a little yellow sticky on my steering wheel, and it said, "Look under the car." And I looked under the car, and there was a box that kind of had little Crayola stuff, like it was a bomb.
Yeah.
Like, not quite a bomb, but like maybe if I use my imagination, maybe. And I opened it up, and there was a picture of this crazy bird in it. And it said, there was on the back of this photo, it said rebroadcasts aren't sufficient. And then it just said you may see this sometime. And it said caraway. And I said, or no, cassowary. So what? So I went and looked it up. And so this picture in the box was, have you ever heard of a cassowary?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, Neal, tell me what a cassowary is, Neal.
Oh, it's a bird.
It's the most dangerous bird on earth.
Yes.
It's like it's this big, ugly, nasty looking thing. It's from Australia, of course, because everything dangerous is in Australia. Yeah. And it's the number one most dangerous bird on the planet Earth. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know how they would get their hands on a cassowary. And I'm not saying it was Sal's grandmother and her dog Muffin. There's no actual evidence to link them. But it did say rebroadcasts are not sufficient. And then there's a picture. I was like, this is a creepy look. I think they call it a terror bird.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so here's the Zach. Do you okay? So I've got the list here of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6. These are the 6 most dangerous birds on Earth listed, I guess, in order of danger. Can you guess? You want to guess a couple that are on there?
I cannot have a guess. Andy.
Oh, you could guess. Come on, think about it. Big bird that runs fast.
Roadrunner.
Well, no, that's a little bird that runs fast.
I mean, you say
an ostrich.
Okay.
Particularly if you're a coyote.
Yeah. It's dangerous. Yeah, Roadrunner's dangerous. So an ostrich, which can run fast and eventually can kill you if it kicks you, is not as dangerous as a cassowary. Mm-hmm. And then what? Do you want to guess at what's number 3 after the ostrich? Think of another big bird thing.
Who's guessing? Him, he, or mine?
I'm just letting Zach guess since it's...
Can't even guess.
An emu. Is number 3. After that is a lammergeier. I don't even know what the heck that is. Do you know, Neal, a lammergeier? Lammergeier? I don't know.
I'm not familiar with those.
Yeah. And then after that, it's the great horned owl. And then the barred owl, not barred like he streams a lute, not barn like he lives in a bard, B-A-R-R-E-D owl. So I just want to say, if I disappear and there's a bunch of feathers in my driveway, it may or may not involve a cassowary. So Zach, we have to banter like there's no tomorrow from now on. Okay?
Okay.
Can you help me with that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. Suspicious. Rebroadcasts aren't enough. All right.
They're not.
And then in a future show, we're going to talk about we're going to do the football broadcast schedule when Ouachita Baptist football. We're going to do a little bit different this year. So we'll talk about that in a future show. All right, I got to get us to a break so we can get back and do some Weird Geek news with Neal Hallford and then talk about Uncharted Regions, the radio drama. And I've got to scan. I forgot to do this. I was sent a tricorder by Larry Nemechek to make sure, because this one can actually scan things to the radio. I've got to scan Neal and make sure that he's not a duplicate. So I'm going to let the tricorder. Analyze that data. It takes a little longer since it was over the airwaves. All right, let me throw out some love for a sponsor, and then we'll get to a break and be back more with Neal Hallford. We do a little bit of Weird Geek news, and then we'll talk about Uncharted Regions, his radio drama that is starting to line up some big names. So comic book lovers, head to Michael Tierney's local comic book stores for the newest books on the shelves, plus a hold on a second. It says it needs more data. Neal, can you kind of open up your mouth and let the DNA kind of be closer to your mic? Can you? Okay, got it. All right, thanks, pal. Can you say "ah"?
Ah.
Okay, got it. All right, thanks, pal. All right, so Michael Tierney's local comic book stores for the newest books on the shelves, plus a fantastic selection of back issues. Visit the comic book store on Treasure Hill Road in Little Rock and Collector's Edition on JFK Boulevard in North Little Rock. And don't forget to click on over to thewildstars.com. Michael Tierney knows comics. In addition to being in business for nearly 4 decades and publishing his own comic book series, The Wild Stars, for almost as long and still going, he has written multiple columns for comic magazines, is an Overstreet Price Guide advisor, and is the author of the wildly successful, high-quality 4-volume labor of love, The Edgar Rice Burroughs 100-Year Art Chronology, and those things look fantastic. Remember, for all your comic book needs, with friendly service, make sure to visit the comic book store on Treasure Hill Road in Little Rock, Collector's Edition on JFK Boulevard in North Little Rock, and thewildstars.com to learn more. Tell them Shane Place sent you. Comic book lovers, visit thewildstars.com today. From the mind of author and comic book industry expert Michael Tierney, it's not just a comic book, it's a comic book novel. The Wild Stars is sci-fi and so much more. Learn the explanations behind UFOs and space gods. This isn't the Twilight Zone. This is the region of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Wild Stars. We guarantee you've never read anything like it. The complete comic book novel took 20 years to tell, with one reviewer noting, the story of the Wild Stars stretches ambitiously across space and time, from small-town murders to the destruction of planets, with every event given multiple layers of meaning. If you haven't read The Wild Stars, you're missing out. Visit thewildstars.com today.
The die is cast. Plunge into worlds of fantastic adventure where dragons lie and the undead stalk the shades of your mind's imagines. Where creatures of legend plunder wealth through the horror of their passage. Monsters grim and foul hold the ecstasy of gold and the renown of glory. All this and more awaits you and your friends in the unlimited, fantastic world of the Castles and Crusades role-playing game from Troll Lord Games. Visit your friendly local game store or trolllord.com to get your copy today. A rules-light, adaptable game that has stood the test of time. 12 years in constant publication with no new additions. Castles and Crusades is the original, easy-to-play attribute check system. Join us and unleash your imagination. Visit your friendly local game store or trolllord.com to get your copy of Castles and Crusades today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.
Well, that ad, I thought we phased that out, but Michael, you got double love this episode, which that's fine with me. But yeah, Michael we had updated the ad because it says something like 32 years in business, and he's actually been in business like 3 or 4 years long. Anyway, long story short, welcome back to Shane Plays Geek Talk. Journey and Things We Love. I'm Shane Sachs, your host. I'm joined by Neal Hallford, who wears many cool geeky nerd hats. But today we're talking about Weird Geek news, and then he's also got an audio drama that's really well done called Uncharted Regions that we're going to be talking about. And it's kind of a spooky, eerie, maybe sci-fi, different anthology show. And Zach, if you get a second, let's play that second part of that trailer.
And that's the reason we're going. So we can see a world that's been asleep for 1 billion years. And just now it's waking up and opening its eyes again. Just for us.
This readout, it can't be right. That's not possible. It can't be.
Alice, look at the sky. What is that?
Get down! Get down!
All right, so that's a little teaser of an upcoming episode of Uncharted Regions called These Haunted Hills. And again, we'll reveal later in the show. I'll let Neal reveal it. There was a female actress voice you heard in there, has a little bit of an accent, very nicely acted. And that's a pretty big name within the sci-fi entertainment area, if you will, TV shows and movies and that sort of thing. And then there's another name, big name, Star Trek, that Neal and company have lined up. I'll let him talk later about that. So here's what we're going to do. Oh, Neal, I got to say, I got a message, Zach and Neal, from the Mobley Detective Agency. They helped me investigate another issue several months back related to a possible Sal's grandmother and her dog Muffin issue. And he said, hey, you got a tricorder. He goes, why don't you scan that box in that picture and see if you can get any clues? I was like, that's a great idea. So I'm going to, you think, Neal, you think Larry Nemechek would let me borrow it for a couple more days so I can scan that? Do you think he'd be okay with that?
I think he might let you do that.
Okay, so I'll put this, okay, so I just put it into forensics mode, and we'll see what happens when I get a chance. Because I don't want to mess with a cassowary. That's all I got to say. I really don't. I would shriek like a little girl and jump into my wife's arms. So, all right, let's do some quick Weird Geek news, only because we told everybody we're going to do Weird Geek news. Okay, this is probably my favorite. This just came up yesterday. So did you see this news story about the bear that wandered inside the Stanley Hotel in Colorado?
No.
Okay, do you know off the top of your head what is special or unique about the Stanley Hotel in Colorado?
That's the hotel from The Shining, isn't
That's
it?
right. It was used as the overlook in the film version of The Shining. Evidently, if I remember right, Stephen King, it inspired him to write The Shining. I'm not 100% positive on that, but I think so. Now, so I guess a couple of days ago, in the middle of the night, and this is making the rounds, but I first saw it through a video posted on Facebook by Fox 31 KDVR, which is, I'm assuming, out of Colorado. And it says, unbelievable video. A big bear figured out how to open the front door to the lobby of the famous Stanley Hotel in the wee hours Thursday morning. The front desk supervisor shot this video. The bear's visit happened while 300 hotel guests slept in their rooms, none the wiser. So literally, the night guy, the night desk supervisor or whatever, was hanging out. The bear just flipping opened the door and cruised in. And was just walking around the lobby, getting up on furniture, sniffing around, and then eventually just left. So,
well, I mean, it's not like who's going to, as the night watchman, are you going to go over and try to stop him?
I'm not messing with the bear. Yeah, I mean, because all work and no play makes that bear a dull boy, and we don't want that.
Yes, exactly.
We don't want. Here was what we talked about this a little bit yesterday on the Dave Ellswick show, and we wondered, did the bear start saying honey backwards?
Yeah.
How would see honey, ye know, it going ye know, and doing its little finger, and it opened up the elevator, and just tons of honey came pouring out of the elevator. Yeah, you can have a lot of fun with this.
Left, did you say, oh, bother?
Yeah, oh, bother. Oh, bother. Oh, poo. And yeah, suddenly the TV, all the TVs in the hotel will only play Winnie the Pooh episodes. Yeah, just weird stuff going on. But here's the weird thing, Neal. Here's the really creepy thing. So this news team went to the hotel and was doing a story on the bear. And they were walking down the hallway, and they found an old black and white photo of the exact same bear. You can barely stand the humor. All right. Anything you want to add to that? This story writes itself. Anything you want to add to it?
No, I think it's like I say, I think that actually ought to be a special service, is to be able to pay to be there on the day the bear comes.
The day the bear comes, and yeah. So yeah, and then Scatman Crothers came walking, and the bear just tackled him out of the blue. So yeah, it was crazy. So all right, so that's that. Again, I want to give credit to Fox 31 KDVR. Go to Facebook and just search, folks. I'll have the link on the show notes, but Bear Wanders Inside Stanley Hotel. Okay, this next item is really fun. I'm not going to spend much time on many of these because, like I said, I want to talk a little bit about Uncharted Regions. So Uproxx has reported, and this is really cool. I love this kind of stuff. Mark Hamill secretly cosplayed at this year's Comic-Con, posing with unwitting fans in numerous photos.
Yes.
And that's by Andrew Husband, the byline on Uproxx. And I'll have the link to this on the show notes, folks. But he was on multiple days. He was in multiple costumes. Mm-hmm. One of them, of course, invites the quip, "Aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper?" Even though he was wearing the First Order stormtrooper armor, not the stormtrooper armor from the classic Star Wars. Now, here's what. Do you remember what he cosplayed as?
Yes, he was dressed up sort of like a stormtrooper, but he had Trump's wig on.
Well, that was one of them. He had like 3 different days of costumes. Yeah. So, and one of them, he's an orange Darth Vader with a golf club and Trump's wig. Right. Yeah, wearing like a golf shirt. Yep. And then on another one, he's just wandering around in stormtrooper armor, taking photos with people. And they have no clue that it's him. And then another one, he's dressed up like a New York City police, I guess had something to do with Brooklyn Nine-Nine panel. So he was dressed up like kind of a police guy with a hat on and sunglasses in the background. So that's really neat. I mean,
he just seems like such a cool dude.
He does. He really seems like a lot of fun.
And that's one of the things that I really like, because there's some people who are on the shows and they just don't really sort of embrace everything else. But he really seems like he's kind of a quirky, kind of fun dude to hang around with. And of course, being in San Diego, we named a street after him.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he for a while he lived in a neighborhood here in San Diego, and so about
this is your stopping grounds.
Yeah, he was. They renamed it Mark Hamill Avenue or Lane or whatever, and he only lived here for like a year or two. But they changed the name of the street because he lived in this particular neighborhood.
Yeah, he genuinely seems like a nice guy. His voice acting is ridiculous. The thing he does with the Joker is like, where does that even come from?
I love his joke. It's amazing.
Yeah, but the thing with him, he was dressed up like somebody cosplaying as a City of New York Police Department guy. And he was just a fan going to the Brooklyn Nine-Nine panel. He wasn't on the panel. He just loves Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So, so it just sounds like a lot of fun. People, go check out the link from Uproxx. I'll put it on the show notes. I've got a couple of news items here that, again, we'll do quickly because I do want to leave a few minutes to talk about Uncharted Regions. These are weird only because it's like you can be a geek for decades and learn something new that you thought you knew everything about. Right. And I ran into this on YouTube the other day. Did you know, Neal, I didn't know this. Yeah. In Return of the Jedi, there are interior scenes of the Falcon with like rebel soldiers running around and firing the cannons, and like Nine Numb running around and kind of getting thrown around by the explosions. Because they only ever show Lando and Nine Numb, the Celestin, in the cockpit. That's all they ever show in the release version. But there's all this other footage. Did you know that existed?
No.
I had no idea. Yeah. And it's some people are saying it's not even deleted scenes. It's, what do you call it? Like second or third unit footage that they shoot and they may or may not use it. Because some of it's not that good. There's people like, tripping, and like when the guy's doing the cannon, it just he's craning his head all around, like overacting it and everything. But yeah, go to YouTube and search for Return of the Jedi Falcon and TIE Fighter attack deleted scene. Now, what this guy did, it's Adam Goodwin on YouTube. He took and edited these scenes with footage from the first A New Hope when they're escaping the Death Star and fighting the TIE fighters. So he kind of edited that stuff together. But there's still a lot of footage in here, and I love this stuff. Is like gold to me, when I find this kind of thing. So, and then finally. Yeah. According to lifehacker.com, Neal, this is also weird just because so much time could go by and you find out that there's something you didn't know about. Did you know, evidently, officially, NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System, right. NES is not pronounced NES.
Yeah, I saw something about that. I can't remember now how they said it was supposed to be pronounced, though.
They compared it to the argument over GIF versus GIF. Yes. But according to Nintendo 3DS, it's supposed to be pronounced NES, not NES. And supposedly the proof of this is there's a Japanese version of WarioWare Gold for the 3DS, and it shows like an old NES, and it shows is it kanji, the Japanese letters, above NES, and if you pronounce that, it comes out Nesu, which is the closest the Japanese characters can get to NES.
Sure.
So there you go. So dogs and cats. It's meteors are falling from the sky as geeks argue over this one. So yeah.
Well, I don't know. It's just a game system to me. I don't know.
I don't know either. Yeah. That's a news item just for my gamer, but I just thought that was weird that after 30 years, like people are arguing over that. Okay. I'm going to get us to a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about Uncharted Regions, and Neal will reveal these big name actors, who they're starting to get lined up for this anthology radio series. Real quick before the break, what is the elevator pitch on Uncharted Regions, Neal, and what is your role with it? Just got to keep it to a minute or two here.
Okay, just Uncharted Regions is pretty close to what you said before. Is we look at tales of the unusual beyond the human experience, and so sci-fi, fantasy, and that kind of stuff. And so I'm the executive producer, showrunner, writer on the show.
All right, very cool. And when is it going to debut? Well, actually, you know what? Let's save that for after the break.
We'll talk about that after.
Yeah, let's talk about that after the break. Okay, give a little love to a sponsor. We'll get to a break. When we come back, we'll talk more with Neal Hallford, and we'll talk about Uncharted Regions. Some goblins are your friends. Game Goblins is Central Arkansas's premier retailer of Magic the Gathering, Warhammer 40K, board games, card games, RPGs, miniatures, and hobby accessories. Call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them online at gamegoblins.com. They're conveniently located at 1121 South Bowman, right on the corner of Bowman and Canis in West Little Rock, and staffed by friendly employees. For all your gaming needs, I heartily recommend Game Goblins. Make sure to check out their customer loyalty program that rewards you based on your actual purchases. Game Goblins earns your business and keeps it. First-time customers mention Shane Plays and receive $10 off your purchase of $50 or more. Tell them Shane Plays sent you. Hey, welcome back to Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey into things we love. I think we got roughly 7 minutes, just under. What do we got, about 7 minutes, Zach? Okay. So let's spend that time talking about Uncharted Regions with Neal Hallford, which is his radio anthology series. And we were talking just before the break. This is a radio drama, which radio dramas are great. They're entertaining, but they also engage your imagination in a way that a book or a movie doesn't, or a TV show. Not that those forms of entertainment are bad. They're just, it engages different parts of your brain. So tell us again about Uncharted Regions and when we can start hearing this wonderful production, Neal.
Of course, the one thing that we often say is we call it an audio drama rather than a radio drama because it may be on multiple platforms ultimately.
Gotcha.
But also too is I think for a lot of people, they hear radio drama and they start thinking about the guy sitting there with a pair of coconuts and the horse racing along.
I gotcha. Okay.
And we're doing something that it's more akin to, we say it's like a movie for your ears. So we have very highly produced special effects. We have music and all this kind of good stuff. So, Anyway, it is an anthology series, and so if you like the Twilight Zone, if you like Outer Limits, any of those kind of old school kind of anthology type sci-fi shows, we're very much in the same vein of stuff. What we were actually most inspired by was a series called Bradbury 13, which was kind of a spate of great radio dramas that came out in the 80s. And so there was, of course, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy came out then, but also the Star Wars radio drama, Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and then this series Bradbury 13, which, of course, as the name implies, was based on short stories by Ray Bradbury. And that has really been our guiding star. Was just an amazing series produced amazingly out of Brigham Young University, but it won a Peabody Award. So we definitely are very heavily sort of inspired by that. But every episode is sort of its own thing. They're standalone episodes.
Right.
So
it's an anthology, which means that it's different story and characters each
different story and
episode.
characters in different time periods, different places. So some might be in space, some might be in Old West, and so we really want to try to go everywhere and everything. The only boundary sort of is the imagination and of what. And also, just generally speaking, in terms of what we can possibly figure out how to turn into an audio experience.
Nice. Okay, so to give people an idea of the level of quality that's involved in producing this, let's go ahead and put the listeners out of their suspense. Who is that female actress that we've heard in that trailer?
That actress was Gigi Edgley, who, if you were fans of the old television show Farscape, that was, of course, played the character of Chiana from Farscape. So she was sort of and if you're not immediately keying on that, she was the sort of blue-looking chick. Mm-hmm. But she was also the host of Sci-Fi Channel's Jim Henson's Creature Workshop, or what have you. She's also in a short from a couple of friends of mine called Hashtag, which will be coming up very soon.
Nice. Well, she's beloved in the geek community every time her name. And I know she did some work with Star Trek Continues.
Yes, she was. She was on an episode of Continues.
Yeah, and now the other big news item that you were supposed to record with this person yesterday, but a scheduling thing came up, and I know you're recording it at some point in the near future.
We'll be recording in about 2 or 3 weeks, in a couple of weeks from now.
And so tell us, this is and this was my favorite probably actor from this incarnation of Star Trek. So tell us who that is.
A Dr. Flaw.
You're cutting out for a second there.
And of course, he's been on
Hold on a second, Neal. Unfortunately, Skype cut out for a second. Yeah, it's John Billingsley who plays Dr. Phlox on Enterprise, who for me was very much a standout breakout character on the Enterprise TV show. So, and he's got that big creepy smile too. But so you've actually got John Billingsley who's going to be recording an episode with you.
Yeah, in about 2 weeks in an episode called Haven. We are just super stoked to have him aboard with us. Just an amazing talent. Also just an incredibly nice guy, and really looking forward to working with him on the episode Haven.
I loved Dr. Phlox. I really did. I thought he brought a lot of life to that character and made him relatable but alien at the same time. So when can we start hearing Uncharted Regions, and how can people learn more? Footnote for the non-live version of the show, Neal actually shared with me offline that you can listen to an interview with he and Jaina by NPR, and also that NPR interview also includes the entire pilot episode of Uncharted Regions. So that link will be in the show notes. I think it was a horror festival interview, but they also include the pilot episode of Uncharted Regions. So you can go listen to the whole first episode, the pilot episode. Now back to the show.
Well, the first thing that there's a couple of ways that people can hear us right now. Is that now we're going to be producing the entire season before we actually put it.
How many episodes will that be, Neal?
13 episodes.
Okay.
And so, but in the meantime, we have kind of been taking the series on a road show, and so whenever conventions come up, we've been actually taking episodes of them as we finish them up and taking them out on the road to kind of preview them for folks. And so the closest that we have been to you is we did one in Oklahoma at SoonerCon. We did Gigi's episode at SoonerCon last month.
Was that good response?
Well, we had a pretty good response to that. The hard part about it is a lot of people don't even really understand what the show is.
Right.
and what have you. And so,
well, for somebody like me, it's a no-brainer. I love stuff like that. So, I've got to dry. So we got about a minute left. Where can people find out more? How do they learn more about Uncharted Regions?
So we have a website, which is unchartedregions.com. And of course, we're on Facebook. So just find Uncharted Regions on Facebook. If you're on Twitter, follow at Uncharted Region, singular, because Twitter ran out of characters, so we can't have multiple regions, just one.
Well, just one. How funny. Okay, I got 30 seconds. Really looking forward to it, Neal. So glad you're doing it. I got to give you the bad joke of the week. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Why can you never trust an atom?
I don't know. Why can't you trust an atom?
Because they make up everything. But folks, Uncharted Regions with Neal Hallford. Go to Uncharted Regions online or on Facebook or Uncharted Region on Twitter. We'll catch you next week.
Golly, that was sure pretty, huh?
Yeah.
It's like the mist is what's pretty, you know? All gold and silver.
Mm-hmm.
Too bad it can't stay like that all the time.
Nothing gold can stay.
Huh?
Nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold, her early leaves a flower, but only so an hour, then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sang to grief. So dawn goes down today, nothing gold can stay.
Where'd you learn that? That's what I meant.
Robert Frost wrote it. I always remembered it because I never quite knew what he meant by it.
I never noticed colors and clouds and stuff till you kept reminding me about them. It's kind of like they were never there before.
Yeah. I don't think I could ever tell Steve or Two-Bit, or even Derry about the clouds and sunset. Just you and Soda Pop. Maybe Cherry Valance.
Guess we're different, huh?
Shoot, yeah. Maybe they,
Maybe you're right.
Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.